The bank said I owed $623,000 on a mortgage I never signed. Turns out, my sister used my name to buy her dream house. At dinner, I slid the police report. Across the table. Part 1. My name is Naomi Blake. I was 31 years old, working as an intake coordinator at a pediatric clinic in Minneapolis, when I found out I apparently owned a house I'd never seen and was 3 months behind on a mortgage I never signed. The call came in on a Wednesday afternoon. I was finalizing patient records, half listening to my coworker joke about her toddler's latest meltdown when my cell buzzed with a number I didn't recognize. Normally, I would have let it go to voicemail, but something about it just didn't feel like spam. I stepped into the hallway and answered. Miss Blake, this is Nathan from North Lakes Credit Union. I'm calling regarding your past due mortgage on the Highland property. You're 3 months delinquent. I'm sorry, I said, blinking hard. What mortgage? He repeated the amount, $623,000. For a second, I couldn't speak. I lived in a rented one-bedroom near Hennepin Avenue. I had no savings for a down payment, no cosigner, no delusions about homeownership in this economy. This had to be a scam. But then he read the address, Highland Avenue. The name didn't click until it did. My sister, Alyssa, and her husband, Gavin, had moved into a gorgeous craftsman home on Highland just a few months ago. I'd visited once, we'd eaten mousse cake on the patio, and suddenly my body went cold. I ended the call as politely as I could and locked myself in the staff restroom. I pulled up my credit report with trembling fingers. The account was there, my name, my social security number, my address, updated to their house. In that moment, I didn't cry, I didn't scream, and I didn't call my sister. I just stared at my reflection in the mirror, watching my own face shift slowly from confusion to realization. This wasn't a clerical error, it wasn't a joke. Someone had stolen my identity to buy a $600,000 home, and I already knew who. What terrified me most was that the people who raised us would probably beg me not to do a damn thing about it. After the call, everything around me blurred, the clinic's cheerful walls, the sound of children's laughter from the waiting area, even the hum of printers and nurses chatting, all faded into a background I could no longer inhabit. I finished the day on autopilot, smiling when necessary, nodding when prompted, but inside, something had cracked. That evening, back in my apartment, I sat on my worn-down green couch and stared at the ivy spilling over my windowsill. I'd raised those plants from clippings, revived them through Minnesota winters, talked to them on long nights after hard days. My little home wasn't glamorous, but it was mine, uncomplicated, honest, just like how I'd lived. I'd never had much interest in keeping up with anyone, not even Alyssa. She was 3 years older, and from the time we were kids, she was the one with the spotlight, homecoming queen, real estate license by 22, husband with a finance degree, luxury SUV, curated Instagram. And me? I processed new patient intakes and scheduled surgeries. I owned one pair of heels and used my PTO for dentist appointments. I didn't think of myself as boring, I thought of myself as peaceful. But peace doesn't make headlines. At family dinners every other Sunday, we all gathered at my parents' home in St. Paul. Dad would uncork a bottle of Cabernet and declare it too young while Mom set out her famous lasagna, insisting we take seconds before we'd even touched our first bites. Alyssa always arrived late and made an entrance, big laugh, big stories, big earrings. She would compliment my shoes, then ask if I'd thought about moving somewhere more grown-up than a rental. I'd laugh it off, I always did. It was easier than explaining how I'd chosen stability over show. They didn't ask much about my life. No one ever said it, but I knew I didn't quite fit their idea of success. I had no